In the past few years, there has been quite a significant uprise in the number of people unhappy with the ticketing services.
Fans of Taylor Swift crashed the Ticketmaster website.
Oh no, what just happened? The tickets you have selected have been released.
The line has stopped moving.
Fans complained about delays, outages, and other technical glitches.
Coldplay recently announced a concert for Mumbai in India.
The band is performing in Mumbai next year and the tickets went on sale.
Over 13 million people logged into the ticketing platform Book My Show for only 150,000 available tickets. Now, to put that into context, this is the seating capacity of the venue where people were booking the tickets for, and this is the amount of people that wanted those tickets. The venue at which this concert was supposed to be held had a capacity of 55,000 only. Now, there were supposed to be 3 shows of this. So if you do some basic mathematics, that translates into a success rate of 1%. So clearly, the expected happened.
They couldn't access the Book My Show app. When they finally could, they were added to a long queue, a queue of millions.
Leading to some very outraged fans reaching out to higher authorities to find some justice.
People complained of inconsistencies. They were assigned random numbers in the queue.
And perhaps the worst part about all of this is when fans find out that these tickets, which they so dearly wanted, are now available at other third-party stores for just a marginal,
A markup of 60 to 100 times.
And the thing is, this is not just a problem for Coldplay or for India. This is a problem that has plagued every artist, every concert across the globe. So clearly, this is a very difficult technical problem in general. There's a big imbalance between the supply and the demand. But there are other factors at play which make this thing very, very interesting for us.
Hello, bye, hello.
So amongst all these different variables of technological and human factors, how does one create a fair and just ticketing system? Well, let's figure it out.
Should I be talking about like why it's not an easy problem? Or you don't want that?
No, we can.
Okay. People need to know it's not as straightforward as a queue, a physical queue. There are a lot of moving parts in any distributed system. It's not just about like a ticketing service, but like anything out there.
Now, in software terms, a ticketing system is essentially a distributed system which comprises of 3 main components. The first one is a device, such as your laptop or your phone that you use to access the said ticketing system. Then comes the app server. This app server is where all the logic resides, how people get into the system, how they pay. All of this is essentially in the app server. Then we have the database, which contains all the important information regarding the event. So things like seating capacity, row numbers, seat numbers, how much does a seat cost? All of those are stored inside of the database. So these 3 components in very, very crude form establish a very simple ticketing system. But here's the problem. There's never just one database. In fact, depending on the size of the event and the scale of the ticketing platform, there can be a lot of databases involved spread across different geographical areas.
Just to keep it simple, there is this like insane amount of data and it cannot be stored in like one storage device. It's usually split, we call it partitioning, and it's split and then it's replicated because you don't want data to be split and then disappear because of like an earthquake. There's one server out there in every country probably for Ticketmaster, and they need to make sure it's fair for someone sitting in the States and someone sitting in India, and the concert might be happening anywhere else. That's where it's like it gets tricky because it's not one server. All servers out there with all their databases need to like cooperate on something and make sure everything is consistent.
So now that we know what our ticketing system comprises of, I think it's time to understand how we actually buy a ticket from it.
So there are 2 steps, right? There is one where you enter the queue or you see the seat, and then there is another one where you confirm the seat. That happens 10 minutes after. You have 10 minutes window and then you pay for it. And then once you have paid, you have the seat. Until then, it could be anyone's seat.
So let's say that I'm traveling to the UK and I have a counterpart who is traveling to the US. Now let's say that we both have to book a Taylor Swift concert in Dubai. And for that to happen, we need to first... Hello there. I guess his internet is not working when traveling. I guess he should have used this video sponsor, Saley. One of the biggest challenges while traveling is finding reliable and secure internet. And with Saley's eSIM services, you can have local eSIMs for over 160 countries. And to use the eSIM, all you have to do is just download the app, pick the country that you want the internet in, then select your data plan, and then make the payment, and there you go. Internet on the go. Now here's the fun part. If you use my code, which is Alt Infinity at the time of checkout, you'll get an exclusive 15% off. You can also do that, by the way, by using the link in the description, or you can just scan this QR code over here. So thank you, Saley, for sponsoring this video. Now let's move on with the rest of the video. Yeah, I just didn't know how to segue. Anyways, why am I doing this? It's going to be the same frame. So let's say that I have to purchase this concert ticket from Ticketmaster. So I'm using this device, which is interacting with this app server, which is showing me tickets and seats which are available by accessing the database. So I can see that section 302 and row 13 have a certain number of seats available, and that will be step 1. And now when I complete the purchase by making the payment and getting the confirmation, this app server will let the database know that this ticket from section 302 row 13 is now unavailable for everybody else. This is the completion of step 2, and this is how a ticketing system works. But like I said in the beginning of the video, the ticketing system is only part of the game. The rest of it is perhaps its biggest problem, the humans. भाई तो आप बोल रहे थे, कल जब हमने बात की थी तो आप बोल रहे थे कि आप काफ़ी सारे हैकर रखे हुए हैं आपने, जिसको यूज़ करके आप टिकट खरीदते हो इन कॉन्सर्ट के. उसके बारे में थोड़ा बता सकते हो क्या?
हैकर लोगों का अपना अरेंजमेंट है.
We have an array of hackers who generate multiple verified IDs through computer scripts. We then use these IDs to buy the ticket.
तो ये प्रोग्राम यूज करके कितने टिकट आप जनरली ले पाते हो, मतलब एक कॉन्सर्ट की अगर हम बात करें तो?
We usually sell 200 to 300 bypass tickets, but we also are able to trade full tickets as well on top. Recently we sold around 100 full tickets on top of bypass ticket.
बाईपास टिकट का मतलब क्या होता है?
Bypass links are used to skip the waiting queue.
A bypass link can look something like this. It is essentially a URL with what appears to be a lot of character gibberish. But if you look a little bit closer, you will find very important components hidden inside of it. The platform wherein the tickets for this Taylor Swift concert is being sold. And in more technical terms, you'll also find the event ID, the queue ID, and then a hash key. So an event ID is an identifier for what event it is. A queue ID identifies what queue you are logging into. And the hash key, along with the combination of these two, enables the user to skip past everything and jump right into the seat map, or sometimes even a cart full of seats. This is essentially how a bypass link works. It has preloaded instructions that enables the user to skip everything through a hash key, queue ID, and an event ID.
तो जैसे हम जब घुसते हैं कॉन्सर्ट की क्यू में, तो आप बोल रहे हो कि आपके पास एक लिंक है जिससे आप वो पूरा क्यू ही स्किप कर सकते हैं?
Yes, but it is a lot of hassle.
अच्छा, और ये सब होता कहाँ पे? मतलब ये किधर ऑपरेट करते हो ये सब कोई यूज करके?
We operate with Telegram groups because sometimes other scalpers need this bypass links and sometimes we need them. So we have this system in place to help each other. But we don't get good rates for the bypass links.
रेट नहीं मिलता उसमें.
रेट नहीं मिलता, मतलब आप सस्ते में बेचते हो मतलब इसको?
Yes, yes.
Now these bypass links might not be as reliable as it seems. There might be systems in place, there might be securities in place by the ticketing platform in itself, which disable the use of such hacking. Or perhaps there could also be the case that these links have already been used before, therefore you might not be able to redeem them for yourself. Now all of this hassle and this workaround is because of the queuing system, which makes you want to question the queuing system in the first place.
If 13 million requests are coming to any server, that's going to crash it. You don't want that. That's a lot of requests. For each request that comes in, there are things that a server needs to allot it, like a connection. There's just too much for any server. So to protect that, you would put something in a queue.
Let's take a look at this diagram for a little bit. The volume here represents the traffic on the website. So let's say, for example, you have a ticket sale happening, usually how much traffic is coming through in how much time. That is what is represented by this diagram over here. This dotted line marked by C represents the theoretical capacity of this system, which essentially means that if the traffic goes beyond this number C, it will make bad things happen to the ticketing service itself. Usually what happens is that when a ticket goes on sale, there's a large volume of people coming through, and it very quickly exceeds the theoretical capacity of the system. Now, this fluctuating trend of traffic is very dangerous for the ticketing service, and that is why a lot of the ticketing service now have a virtual waiting room or a queue in place. What this thing really does is that it essentially ensures that the traffic never goes beyond the theoretical capacity of the server. And how does it do that? It essentially redirects the excess traffic that you might have had into itself, and then when the time is right, redirects it back onto the website again.
So it's like a funnel, it's like a choke point which is set up to help the system out so that it can function without crashing down, because that's the worst thing, where a lot of people come in bulk to get a ticket and the system just goes black.
So when people say that they join the queue on Book My Show to get tickets for Coldplay or Diljit or whatever, and then they couldn't even open the website.
Yeah, something has gone over the limit.
Okay.
तो आप फिर जैसे, तो अगर जितना मुझे समझ आया कि आप जो हो एक आईडी बनाते हो, एक नहीं मतलब काफ़ी सारे आईडी बनाते हो आप, और आपने आईडी बना के जिस दिन कॉन्सर्ट है उस दिन सब लॉगिन कर दिया वो आईडी बना के। अब उसके बाद जो है आप उनसे आप करते क्या, वो जो बॉट्स बनाए आपने उसके आप करते क्या मतलब?
We host a few thousand bots. We try and get direct tickets through them, but sometimes it's too difficult. So we sell a few bypass links that we got through these bot logins.
It's so easy to create accounts. First of all, I think that's a problem. When you told me about Linkin Park, I literally created an account 5 or 10 minutes before the actual event. So it's extremely easy to create accounts, and that makes it easy to create a bot account. And how these bots work, and one of them I can talk about is maybe something that works very similar to Selenium, which is a test automation tool. The bots probably, what they can do is say a button named submit or a seat which is blue, click on it. Once they are in the next screen, find a button which says checkout now and then click on it. So these things can be automated. These are very easy to automate.
Now, bots in ticketing systems are very interesting because you find this anti-bot technology like Cloudflare almost everywhere across the internet. But somehow its use on ticketing platforms still remains quite prevalent.
There are few places where bots are better than you, is because everything is automated, they click faster than you.
आपके जो bots हैं उनको टिकट कैसे मिल जाते हैं? हम लोग को टिकट क्यों नहीं मिलते हैं? मतलब उनमें अलग क्या है?
The bots work because they are much faster than us humans at clicking through to a ticket. For example, we might take about 10 seconds to log in. A bot can do that within a couple of seconds. There is no comparison.
Yeah, because you don't have to see which seat. They can be like, hey, see the seat which is closest.
Submit, blue, checkout, done.
Done.
As simple as that.
As simple as that.
स्पीड का इशू है आप बोल रहे हो?
Yes, it's the speed advantage.
Speed is a bit of a clutch point in this discussion. You see, in context of the scalpers and the ticketing platform, it might be very relevant, but unfortunately, the biggest bottleneck for a fair ticketing service is the technology that enables the ticketing service itself. Now let's say my US counterpart finally got his internet working thanks to our video sponsor Sally, and we can finally book those Taylor Swift tickets in Dubai. That is a real show. So we open the ticketing platform, we see a few seats available here and there. I pick a seat which is somehow very much similar to the seat that he has picked as well. In fact, it's the exact same seat. So what's going to happen in this case, because my server in the UK is going to think that I am eligible to get that seat, but his server in the US might still think that that seat is still available. And that is, can you stop tapping, man? That is because there is a delay between when the local server has assigned the seat to me, but it hasn't relayed that information to rest of the servers across the globe yet. So my counterpart in the US can still see this seat is available, even though it might not well be the case. And that is why when you sometimes enter a concert seat map and see seats that are limitedly available, but you can't really pick them, it's a problem of concurrency and the delay between information.
So the seat that I try to pick, it's not there because of latency.
Yes.
It's a technical problem.
It's a technical problem, which is a real problem.
So it's a limitation on the technique that we are using in general for systems like these.
Yes, and they can make the experience better, but I don't think it's ever gonna go away. It cannot be zero. It cannot be at the point you clicked you get the ticket. No, because there are people involved. So it's a problem of latency. It's also a problem of concurrency because you're not alone who's looking at the seat.
The problem with consistency is that it takes time. For all the components of the system to agree on its status, there needs to be some time given for the communication to happen. And that delay is a major culprit for all of these problems. The thing is, a lot of the fans are not able to get their tickets.
Yeah.
Genuine fans.
Okay, yeah.
And then there are scalpers who are using bots or whatever to get those tickets and then selling them at like exorbitant prices.
Right, yeah.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. Absolutely.
How do we make a fair ticketing system?
How to make a fair system? I don't know. I don't think you can.
I'm really disappointed.
Are you joking? What?
You can't call this the straw that broke the camel's back because the camel was broken.
Well, we must never lose hope with technology because there is work going on making these ticketing systems fair and justified. There are platforms like Dice, which are a fan favorite because they enable something called a waiting list. And also there's a lot of work going on with blockchain. Now, opinion on blockchain with ticketing is a bit on and off. But there are platforms like Open Ticketing which enable blockchain distributed tickets. Now, the advantages of blockchains in ticketing system is something that is way beyond the scope of this video. But I did want to leave you with a little bit of hope that things are moving forward. There is currently a great imbalance between what the fans want and what the artists can deliver through the infrastructure of ticketing that we have. But historically, technology has always stepped up to restore the balance between the two. The prices of ticketing concerts will perhaps go down when there are fairer ways of technology that come into effect. So there you have it. I'll conclude this video with that hopeful comment. And I hope, in fact, I'll request that if you like this video, please do share it with other people who you think will enjoy something like this. Otherwise, let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this or if there's something that you would like to be improved or if you just want to have a discussion about this topic as well. But in any case, I'll see you in a few days.